All right, so December of 1999, I had just got hired into my job here in Philly. I'm from the Midwest. I got a lot of information. We'll talk quick. Stop me if you need to. So I needed to come out here. I needed to get my pre-employment physical at Hub, and I needed to find an apartment. And it happened to fall in between Christmas and New Year's. And my friend Jay, who I know from college, who's from Pittsburgh, who lives in Brooklyn, called me and said, hey, I'm going to invite all of our college friends over, and we're going to go down to Times Square for New Year's Eve 1999 party in Y2K style. I said, bring it the fuck on. I was down. I said, okay, I need to go there anyway, so I'll just make a whole big week-long trip about it, and I'll go down to Philly, and then I'll swing up your way. Cool. I go down, do all my stuff here, swing up there. I get there the day before New Year's Eve. I said, great, who else is coming? He said, nobody. He invited like 10 people, people from outside of New York, because all his cool hipster Brooklyn friends don't want to go down to Times Square, because that's Times Square. But he's like, fuck it, I've only been here a year, I'm going to do it once, we've got to do it on New Year's Eve 1999. I said, cool, I'm in. Nobody else decided to go, because everybody else we know is from Boston, Chicago, Indiana, where's where I was from, but it was just me and him, which was fine. He's a good friend of mine, I haven't seen him in a couple years, so it'd be great to hang out with my bud. And, you know, Times Square, it's bound to be interesting, right? So, I'm there the night before. Literally, he gets a phone call and picks it up and says hello, and then starts rifling off German. And I was a little perplexed. He's actually very fluent in German. He lived in Germany for a year or two after college. So, it wasn't surprising to me that he knew German, but he had this really big grin on his face the whole time he's talking, and he gets done, and he tells me a story about this girl he met in a club in New York a couple months prior, who happened to be speaking German out of the corner of his ear. He perked up and saw she was cute and went over to talk to her in German. She was very impressed that he knew German. And they kept up this sort of interesting relationship. He was into her, but they weren't really dating. He had invited her to the big New Year's Eve party. She kind of wavered, and then the day before New Year's Eve, she said, I'm bringing 4 of my European friends with me.
Yeah.
We're all nannies from Jersey. That's how they knew each other. And we're coming into the Port Authority bus terminal at 6 p.m. New Year's Eve. And they're bringing luggage and sleeping bags and pillows. And we have to go get them and somehow impress them. And I'm thinking, that's a pretty damn good ratio. Sign me up. European girls love American penis, right? That's what we're hoping. So, we want to get them down to the big Times Square where all the people are. But, of course, we wake up at 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve day. There's already like 100,000 people there. We're like, what the fuck we're gonna do when they get here at 6? Everything's blocked off. We hear stories on the news about you can't get through streets because everything's blocked off because all these people there. We get down there like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We see people getting through blockades with passes or invitations. We go up to this cop and Jay's like, well, we need to get to the party down there. And the guy's like, well, if you had an invitation, we could see, but you know, you don't have an invitation. And he's like, okay, genius idea. Let's go to Kiko's and make fake party invitations. So we go to Kiko's. We had to pick the girls up first at 6 because the nearest Kiko's wasn't open or wasn't near enough to get there and get back by the time to pick them up at 6. We had to wait to get to the bus terminal at 6, pick up the girls and all their luggage, hop on the subway, go 30 blocks to 78th in Lexington, go to the Kiko's, which is actually open. Jay gets on. Now Jay works for an ad agency and he makes graphic online advertising, so he can make some shit. So he gets online, he finds the Kit Kat Club, which is right down in the middle of Times Square, actual place. Type matches the font to their graphic on the sign. Creates the 3-color party invitation on like card stock. Prints it out, $35 it cost us. He signed them, numbered them, and we cut them out and we were good to go. It took us an hour and a half. We hop back on the subway, back down to Times Square. We hop off the subway like 8 o'clock. Everything's blocked off. There's wall-to-wall people everywhere. There's, you know, hundreds of thousands of people there. We try to make through these blockades and all these cops are. We get to one and we can see Jay's building where he works like 4 blocks away. We're going to try to use that as a reason to go this direction, try to get down to where all these people are. Because Jay really wants to impress this girl and, you know, being at 57th Street is not going to impress her. We need to be like in the 40s. Because that's where Times Square is, right? So we're trying to get through and the cop's like, you can't get down there. And Jay's like, well, I need to get down to my building. That's where I work. And he shows his ID badge. And the cop goes, oh, you live there? And he goes, no, I work there. And the cop goes, oh, you live there? And Jay goes, yeah, I live there. And then he says to the cop next to him, this guy lives down. He needs to get to his building. He needs to go. And they're like, okay, you can go through. It's like, high five. Get through this, the first roadblock. We get to the very next block, and the cop's like, nobody gets through here. And Jay shows him his ID badge. He says, we need to get to my building. He goes, why? And he goes, we have these 5 visitors from out of town. They're out of the country. They're from Germany. We need to get. That's where I live. We need to get our stuff there. And the guy goes, speak some German. And the girl goes, das ist Swedish. And he goes, hey, good enough for me. Hope you didn't say nothing bad. Go ahead. So he rifles us through. We're like, high five, high five. We're still 3 blocks away from Times Square. We can actually see the ball, like in the distance. We're not near the throngs of people. We can see it. We're like, fuck it, let's just stay here. So we do the hokey pokey. We sing songs, talk to Australians, talk to Argentinians. Jay breaks out a bag of ham sandwiches, because European girls love ham sandwiches. And a thermos of hot German wine that he bought earlier that day. And they're like, so we drink some hot German wine and eat some ham sandwiches. And we try to make one last push after the ball drops, and I get a peck on the cheek from a European girl. They make out with people for a living, right? We tried to win one last push through this blockade. It was like wall-to-wall people, and you literally can't move, and nowhere to go. It takes us like an hour to get, and the guy's like, yeah, go ahead. We're like, so we get through this one last roadblock, and we think we're like a block and a half away from where there's still hundreds of thousands of people with hats and the glasses. And we get to this last roadblock, and the guy's like, that's not a pass, you can't get through. And he's like, well, we're trying to get to this party. He says, if there's somebody from the party that can come get you, maybe, but that's not a pass. So we gave up, got on the subway, went home, and we both slept alone.